What's going on, YouTube? Stocks by the numbers. Welcome back. Happy Monday. We're closing in on later in the afternoon here, about 1:45. Monday the 17th. We have a lot of earnings coming out this week, and I know a lot of the calls have been kind of messed up, especially in the short term on the Discord. I apologize for that, but again, you have to understand we're basically in a market where no matter what is reported, it goes higher, and that is very, very hard for an analytical and a very logical person like myself to deal with. So trying to make sense of it, and I give you my word that we will turn it around. Shout out to the guys in the Discord. But right now, someone asked me for an update here on Alcoa, and this was a company that really didn't work out too well. Basically, we're not seeing a massive drop, but what we did see was a decrease in aluminum prices from the highs, obviously, that we saw during COVID. Now, Alcoa, ticker symbol AA, listed here on the New York Stock Exchange, aluminum company, $35.93. Up $1.41 today, a little over 4% here on the day. This circle you're seeing here, about the third week of June, it was like the 22nd or something around there. Stock was like high 40s, 47, 48, and I thought that prices would stay stable and continue to rise. And that's not really what we saw happen. So initially, after I made the video, of course, the stock went down, as it does. And then we rallied up here to this $58 mark. So if you did hold on, you could have made a nice quick profit, but overall, the stock pulled down. Again, it tried to retest and bounce around, and this was the last high that we saw. This is basically beginning of the year. Bull dropped here January 2023. And then since then, aluminum prices have been decreasing. So with the company even coming out here towards the height and beating earnings, the aluminum prices themselves have been bringing the stock down in value. Now we're in kind of like this descending wedge. We have earnings coming up on the 19th, estimates of $2.668 billion. EPS side, loss of almost 51 cents a share. So the company, again, their margins are suffering, and again, their revenue overall is decreasing from the heights that we saw. But in the long term, if you're a long-term player here, in the long term, in my opinion, I still like it. Right? Because over time, we know that, we're going to have to keep printing dollars, and that's like just slowly going to decrease the dollar over time. We're seeing the rise now in gold and silver as of late, right? And the resurgence of a lot of these material stocks and whatnot climbing. We look at LPX, lumber company, been very stable lately. And that's why over the years, something like this just kind of makes sense to own. Right? Because if materials are really slowly going to increase over time in price, then the value of the companies producing them and refining them, those are going to slowly increase in price as well. And that's why companies like U.S. Steel, Alcoa, the lumber companies, it may bounce around and seem a little volatile, but over time, over the years, it could work out for you well, unless, of course, you buy at the absolute top and never average down or anything like that. But you can see I wanted to pull up the aluminum futures here, see, and you can see if we zoom in, you can see that this is where we made the video, and you can see that aluminum was basically relatively flat. So we had the breakdown, and then we had the run up, and then futures began to drop, so the stock really began to chunk down, and then it rose, so we rose, and since this point again, basically January, mid-January, it's looking like that was the top as of late, and aluminum futures have since been decreasing. So over this time frame, if we can pull up maybe like 6 months here, there we go. So aluminum prices have continued to slide about 8.8%, but Alcoa we have down 34%. Also, in the meantime, remember, the company has paid out 2 dividends, which adds to the decline of value in the short term, and of course the company missed earnings in the middle of April. So in order to see an immediate reaction, obviously you're going to need this company to beat earnings right here coming up Wednesday, July 19th, estimates of only $2.668 million. So the problem though is, right, this is period ending June, so that would be like March to June, and you can see in this little window that aluminum prices were decreasing. So, kind of hard to tell if Alcoa is going to be able to come in above these expectations here. But if they do, then chances are it'll jump back up here to like where it was towards the beginning of this descending wedge here, which, we're looking at. Let me get the percentages off. But we're looking at, maybe like 42, 43 and change. And in my opinion, we could even have a run up and potentially a quick breakout above this trend line here and get to about 36.5, potentially 37 going into these earnings. Now, the issue is if the company comes in light with these estimates, then they're going to chunk it down and bring it right back down into this range. You're going to see 32, 33, and then they're probably going to bring it down to 31.40, and then you may potentially see sub $30 and see a new 52-week low in Alcoa if they miss these earnings. And of course, if aluminum prices, let's just say, continue to slide in the immediate short term and remain stagnant, obviously. But even with a slight miss, again, if aluminum prices begin to start rallying and climbing back to where they were, it's going to take Alcoa with it, even if the last, 1 or 2 or 3 quarters were shy or just mad or slightly in line, whatever the heck. But, we could see some action here again off of these good numbers. They could pump it back into the 40s, but really going to be a hard call to play. So if you're not in Alcoa and you're looking to get in here with this earnings play, me personally, I wouldn't do it because I really don't know if I have an immense amount of conviction on either side right now. It really could go either way, right? Because we want it to surprise and we want it to pop back up to 42 so we can make a shit ton return on these, out of the money speculative calls. But also on the flip side, they've been struggling and aluminum prices have been decreasing for 6 or 7 months straight. So if the company comes in light, it's understandable, right? Because the value of aluminum has been decreasing, so they made less money. So that's why it can kind of go either way. So if you're not involved, I don't know if I would advise you to get involved right here. But if you did happen to already own it or get in back here at this time, obviously you're down roughly 25%. And if you did have the liquidity to potentially add to the situation, again, in my opinion, I would wait for these earnings to come out. Because if you're going to hold this for long term, why force your way in rolling the dice here at 36 a share before earnings when we could potentially see a company that even meets, but aluminum prices continue to slide, right? So even if the company itself didn't deserve to decrease in value, they may bring the stock price down just because aluminum prices continue to slip. So even on a beat, if you can potentially see this down here at the low 30s, obviously you're better off being patient. That's basically my advice here. If you did have the liquidity to add to the position, I would be patient. If they pop, a few dollars and they happen to beat earnings and it was a great quarter, big surprise, boom. Okay, awesome. Now they're rocking and rolling no matter what, even when aluminum prices are going down. Now you can feel even more confident stepping in at a higher price, a couple of dollars higher, and adding to the position, right? You know what I mean? But of course, on the flip side, if they miss or aluminum prices go down and they chunk down, hey, now you can buy more shares down at 32, 31, 29 and 3/4. Obviously, in the long term, if they have it hit a new 52-week high, that would be a new 52-week low, that would be beautiful for longer term holders. But you can see, just look at that huge chunk down from the highs. But again, we knew what was going on there with COVID and everything going on, so that just rose up the prices of everything. But I still say, with inflation the way it is, and they always act like there's never a problem until there's a problem. So again, it's not necessarily being pessimistic. I am being realistic, because when valuations were crazy overinflated back in 2000, nobody wanted to hear the quote-unquote negative pessimistic guy, right? Meanwhile, the whole time he was telling everyone, like, listen, these stocks are way too freaking high. They're going to come crashing down. You guys shouldn't be buying anything. And they're like, oh, shut up. You have any idea how much money we're making? We're buying everything. And then we saw what happened. Same thing in 2008. Everybody, the mortgages aren't going anywhere. I'm buying this, I'm buying that. We're riding high. Everything's great. All of a sudden, we were giving $800,000 homes to people flipping burgers at McDonald's. So I guess that was a bad call. Hey, listen, you got like $700 billion to bail us out. So it's never a problem until it's a problem, right? And then markets completely tank down. Every stock across the board is hitting all-time lows, new year lows, multi-year lows, and then we look back and we say, wow, I forced myself into this stock or that stock at X price or Y price, and meanwhile now look, it's basically trading pennies on the dollar from where it was. I'm going to have to hold this for 7 years to make my money back. So again, it's not a problem until it's a problem. So just like Dr. Michael Burry, random ad in The Big Short. I may be early, but I'm not wrong. And I'm not going to change my stance just because it seems like in the short term the traders are disagreeing with me. But here we're looking at Alcoa here on the stock charts and on the daily, and you can see that we just popped above the 50-day moving average. Getting messages like crazy. Popped above the 50-day moving average here. We're sitting at 35.96, right near that top Bollinger Band, 36.29. So that's why I'm saying we could immediately in the short term, rally up to maybe 36.5 and potentially flash breakout to the high 36s, potentially 37 going into these earnings. But again, it may be very short-lived if those numbers come in light, but the MACD has been rising here over the course of the last couple of weeks, so the stock has come back to life with these earnings coming in. And again, if it is a beat, we do have a tightening here on the Bollinger Band on the daily, so that's why we could have the breakout here to this 200-day of about $42 even. RSI sitting about 55 1/3, nothing too crazy. We switch over here to the weekly, and we can see RSI in the weekly is only about 44. However, the stock right now has climbed above the 200-day moving average of 35.53. So with the MACD crossing here as of late, the stock doing a little bit of a rally, and you can see again here, top Bollinger Band 43.05 on the weekly, and the 50-day moving average of 42.60. So that's why we can easily see 42, 42.5, potentially 43 on a nice beat here with Alcoa. But again, aluminum prices have been declining the last several months, so it is going to be a little bit of a toss-up. And I know I'm not really giving any decisive direction right here, but again, I'm a very honest guy. I call it like I see it. If I truly don't know what to call, and I personally wouldn't feel confident putting my own money in it right now, then I would not have the audacity to jump on YouTube and make a video and just, oh yeah, buy, short. I would never do that. So if I personally don't really have a good feeling about it, I would not play it, and that's the message I would leave you. And whatever you do with this information is entirely your own prerogative. And I'm going to end it there. So once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Also, let me know how you feel about these sectors as a whole, because I know I do bring a little bit of an older school mentality to the table, and I know a lot of newer age, younger traders, they don't really think that way anymore. They're learning from this different, more technical generation, talking about short squeezes and whatnot. So if you feel even under this administration as well, that's why I mentioned before, not to really get into politics, but I did mention last time that when we had Obama in office, if you go back, if you look, the best performing sector was really the tech sector, and a lot of other sectors and a lot of other companies really did struggle, even though everyone was acting like the economy was rebounding and everything was great. So, let me know in the comments section. Do you think we should kind of just distance ourselves until let's say 2024, right? So for the next 12 to 15 months, should we just distance ourselves from material stocks and industrial stocks and telecoms, and should we just focus on tech? Or do you guys really appreciate the diversification that I bring here on the channel? And do you appreciate kind of seeing all different angles and trying to cover all the bases here? So let me know down in the comments section. Very curious about that. But like the video, thumbs up, it helps out the algorithm, helps me get more eyes on the channel. Subscribe to the channel, that is our handshake agreement. I'll do an update video if I see something I like POW, right? Just did a video on POW, P-O-W-W. Stock was up 8% at one point here today, bouncing off that beautiful trend line that we drew out in the video. Fantastic call by me. Good job, thank you. But again, you guys, you want the short-term calls, you want some longer-term plays setting up, I have no problem doing that. Just do me a favor. Push the subscribe button. That is how you help me help you. That is our handshake agreement. You subscribe, I'll keep making content. Everybody wins. But moving forward, like I do always say, I understand that markets are rocky and they're volatile and it's very uncertain here. But I want to wish everyone success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thanks for stopping by. I'm going to catch you guys next vid.